The Byte Show is listener-supported at thebyteshow.com.
But we're planning to do a series of ebooks on various manifestations of this apocalyptic mentality.
Yeah.
Because it's always a hallmark of these kinds of ideologies that divide the social space into light and darkness.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a hallmark of those kinds of ideologies that they look toward some future fulfillment when their ideology triumphs over all others and everybody lives happily ever after.
You mean like the second coming of Christ?
I mean more than that. I mean not only like the second coming of Christ, but like the coming of the Jewish Messiah, like the coming of the Imam Mahdi, like the coming in communism of the final state of global communism.
Yeah. Because
that's the same thing. It's a secularized version of certain versions of Christian eschatology that say that the kingdom of God will occur when the church triumphs.
Oh, dear.
And that, incidentally, was kind of the thinking behind Oliver Cromwell. You see? So, in other words, you're looking at, peel the layers back. Something may look totally secular and totally non-religious, but when you look at the techniques of engineering, social engineering that it practices, it's nothing but religion under a different guise.
Joseph, how did all this BS get started?
I truly think that there was how to put it? I don't want to give away the plot here.
Okay.
I truly think that there was a time when the basic program, as it were, the default setting, was to a situation where the social space was not divided. Okay?
Okay.
So I'm going back to that metaphor.
Okay.
At a later point, it's because the social space was not divided that humanity was a threat to somebody.
Yes.
Okay? And it had to be reprogrammed so that it would not become a threat again.
Oh, wow.
And that's basically what happened.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, every religion has its own version of that story. Every single one has some version of that story.
Wow.
The real question is not so much, in my opinion anyway, not so much whether or not this may have happened, but how it happened, and who, and where, and when.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, the key question. It's the key question, in my opinion, of ancient history. It's the key question of philosophy. I think it's even, to a certain extent, the key question of archaeology and paleontology and so on and so forth. And of course, most academics in those disciplines will say I'm just a nut. But I don't really particularly care what those people think. But that's it in a nutshell, GeorgeAnn. As I really honestly think that there was something about humanity and about the social space of humanity that constituted a threat and had to be dealt with. And that's really the central theme running throughout all versions of the Tower of Babel story that Dr. DeHart and I sort of touch on in Grid of the Gods, and then really touch on in the upcoming book.
Oh, wow. Well, gosh, Joseph. You are amazing. And I agree with what you say. It's just so huge.
It's so huge because it's coming to a head in our time.
Yes.
And it's coming to a head in our time because as the world is now grasping the technologies and keys of technologies, of future technologies, that quite literally are going to transform human life in a radical fashion, that as the world is entering this phase, at the same time, you have a tremendous increase of fundamentalist thinking, not only amongst the major religions, but also amongst the major ideologies.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? That's why you look at the American political scene, and it is so divided.
Yes, and
no one is willing to budge from their ideological position and think rationally about the social space in which they live. They are defending their paradigm rather than dealing with reality.
Yes.
And this is a very, very unique time in human history. So, in a way, that's kind of why we're writing these books. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Yes.
But there are people waking up.
Yes, thank God
to the
for
game.
that. Yeah.
The really important thing now is for everybody to remember that in these situations, it's all too easy for demagogues to come along and to get followings.
Yeah.
That's really one of the crucial dangers. There's many dangers about these periods of human history, but that's always been one of them.
My goodness, Joseph. Oh.
The last time this happened, GeorgeAnn, was in that period in European history that we call the Renaissance and the Reformation.
Yeah.
And the reason that those movements were not able to be silenced by the institutions that had been so successful in silencing similar movements before was that the two major institutions that did the silencing in previous periods of human history, namely the state, the nation state, which was at that point in European history a relatively recent creation, all right?
Yeah.
And the other one was, of course, the church, the papacy.
Yeah.
All right? The reason why that institution was unsuccessful in stamping out the Renaissance and the Reformation was very simple. It was a technology that suddenly appeared on the scene that threatened its ability to control information. And that technology was, of course, the printing press.
Yeah.
Now look what we have.
Yeah.
We have the Internet. We have the ability, even the Soviets found this out the hard way. The more they clamped down on people in the Soviet Union and the control of information, the more people sat down at their typewriters and just typed out their books and circulated them by hand.
Yes.
Underground, like Solzhenitsyn.
Yes.
So in other words, the technology is doing the same thing once again. It's doing the same thing once again.
My goodness.
And, of course, out of that cultural upheaval in Western Europe, you saw a transformation of the map of Europe. You saw a transformation of the powers of the nation-state vis-a-vis the people. You saw, all sorts of things happening. It was a huge time of transition, and we're entering a similar one that's going to make that one pale into insignificance.
Yep, I think you're right. Oh gosh, it's scary on one hand, Joseph, but it is damned exciting on the other.
It is. There are good things that can happen, but in order for the good things to happen, I keep going back to what I've said over and over in all of these talks. In order for good things to happen, number one, people have to be responsible unto themselves.
Yes.
they have to be absolutely 100% filled with love. And I'm not joking here. This is not a platitude. This is not a pie-in-the-sky thing.
Right.
And the reason I'm saying that is because, again, this idea that has arisen within modern physics, that there is a deep connection between consciousness and the physical medium, between the observer and the physical medium. And that's the third thing. People have to start getting out of the mode of apocalyptic thinking.
Yes.
And look at what's happening right now square and realize it for what it is.
Well,
the old paradigms, the old fundamentalisms will not work.
That's right.
That is as true for the elites in any capital in the world as it is for the rest of us. The old ways of doing things are not going to be able to work unless they are profoundly modified. That's the danger of these situations, because now everybody is waking up to this fact, so they're proposing solutions that in many cases are nothing but dressed up versions of the old ways of doing things.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the matrix concept, with people in there all clamoring after the apocalypse, the apocalypse. I don't think they really understand that they are wishing and praying for the death of millions and millions and millions of people.
Well, in the religious versions,
yes,
that's what the apocalypse usually amounts to.
Yeah.
And in most secularist versions
it's like praying for mass murder.
And in most secularist versions, that's also what it is.
Yeah.
There are a few versions of apocalyptic thinking that don't automatically default to mass slaughter. There are a few. The real problem is this apocalyptic thinking, at least in its secular component, is being driven in part by technological considerations and so on and so forth. But people have to look this in the eye. It is going to be, the technologies, GeorgeAnn, are going to force a confrontation with the traditional religions in a major way. It's going to render certain kinds of fundamentalisms obsolete. It really will. But the sad fact is I don't think many of those fundamentalisms will go down without some sort of fight.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily mean violence.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some sort of widening cultural difference.
Yes.
That will occur. I mean, at the point that we're entering this technologically unified globe, we're also seeing, as a result of that, we're seeing the cracks and fissures between civilization types becoming more and more apparent.
Yes. Well, it's going to come down to there's the barbarians and then there's us. I mean...
Well, you're sounding like Zbigniew Brzezinski right now.
Oh.
Because that's kind of his worldview.
Yeah.
You know, there's all those barbarians out there, meaning people that aren't of a Western European cultural background, and then there's us.
Well, I didn't mean it.
Yeah, I know you didn't, but my point is, it's easy. It's all too easy for anyone to lapse into that kind of thinking.
Yes.
And it's very easy to see then that this thinking is still the thinking of people like him at the pinnacles of power,
yes,
who have their treatises on geopolitics being read by those in even higher positions of power and able to do something about his ideas.
Oh, dear.
You see, this is, bingo.
Yeah.
The oh dear says it all. This is the problem.
Oh.
This is the problem.
Well, Joseph, if we have a lot of people that are filled with love and that look with understanding and caring and love on things, and then we have these other groups that want to kill them, what do we have?
We're going to have conflict.
Yeah. Yeah. My goodness. Oh. My goodness, Joseph.
We're being forced at this time of human history to take a good long look at what it is we think is truly and morally good.
Yes.
And what it is we think is truly and morally evil.
Evil, yeah.
And the scary thing is a lot of people are still going to try and find that answer in their sacred text. In other words, in things that cannot look at the developments of modern technology with anything more than medieval eyes.
Yes. Can you sum up a definition of evil?
Oh, golly. I mean, that's taxed the greatest philosophers in the world, and you're asking a hack from South Dakota to do it. And do it on the spur of the moment.
Oh, dear.
I think one of the hallmarks of evil is doing something or convincing oneself that doing another human being harm in the name of something that is supposed to contribute to the greater good, I think that this is a classic hallmark of evil.
Yay. Yay, yay, yay.
That's not a definition of it.
That's a sign of it. And you're right. You're absolutely right. Wow, Joseph, this has been fascinating. And I still haven't decided whether to put it under...
Put it under Grid of the Gods.
That or banksters or magic of social engineering. My goodness, it's a huge subject, and it's just awesome how easily we are persuaded into evil.
It is.
That looks, and you know, evil has a beautiful side to it, or no one would
do it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
Gosh. Oh my gosh, Joseph, you've done it again.
Well, I don't know about that.
Oh yes. Well, everybody, go to GizaDeathStar.com. That is Joseph's personal website. You might sign up for his vid chats. I hear they are very, very interesting.
Yeah, they are.
And they get pretty lively.
Yeah, they do.
And you can do that at GizaDeathStar.com. And you can buy all of Joseph's books through his website. And, gosh.
And help GeorgeAnn out, too, folks.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We need it.
We all do.
And just God bless you, Joseph, for the work that you're doing. It's astounding. It's just, the world needs you. It truly does.
The world needs all good people.
Yes. Yes. But you
all
have,
people of goodwill.
You have a good moral compass.
Well, I hope so.
Yes.
Thank my mother for that.
This is GeorgeAnn Hughes with Joseph Farrell signing off. God bless you all for listening, and good night.